Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Opinion Machine, the show where we talk about all things gaming. My name is Killjoy, and today I want to talk about EA, specifically what they're doing with FIFA on the Switch. Now, this is a little bit of old news, I guess. This has been about a week, I think, since it's been announced, since FIFA was released. But, you know, I as you guys know, I'm very weary about certain companies, EA being one of them, and earlier this year they released Command & Conquer Remastered, which was pretty much done by Petroglyph and another studio, and they kind of just sort of funded it and stuck their logo on it. And I was saying, you know what, maybe like the way that I kind of like boycott these companies is a little bit different now, kind of go on a game by game basis. Well, it recently came out that FIFA, every time FIFA seems to come out on the Switch now, this is the same with FIFA 20 and the same with FIFA 21, they do something called the Legacy Edition, which is fine, you know, if they want to release a game that is on the older engine or whatever. But the problem is here is that EA released FIFA 21, and literally the only differences are, I think it's players, so the clubs, the stadiums, and I think it was the shirt colours. I think it was those three things. But basically, it just goes to show how little effort that EA are willing to put into stuff on the Switch. Now, I'll probably use FIFA 18 footage because that's the only FIFA game I have on the Switch. I never bought any of the others. I think 19 might be a little bit better, I don't know. But this has just pissed me off royally because I'm just sick of EA's bullshit. It's like, here's a system where people, you know, will probably enjoy to play their more modernized FIFA games. Like, I'm sure their engines, or they can have a separate engine that would work on the Switch and they could do things to it, you know. And if they can't, I'm sure they could make a version for a FIFA for the Switch that has like a 5-a-side mode or something to compensate for the fact that they're obviously clearly not being able to get their like next gen version or their more powerful system version to run on the Switch. But here's what the vicious cycle is. EA releases a shit version of FIFA. Nobody buys it because it's a shit version of FIFA, and then they're like, oh, we don't get any sales, nobody wants to play it on that system. Which isn't the case. And this is what pisses me off, because it's like, this is such bad practice by EA. They couldn't be bothered to put the effort into a game that's already a yearly release. They couldn't be bothered to actually put some effort into the Switch version. They think, people on Switch aren't going to care, we'll just put the most minimal effort in. And it, quite frankly, is the most minimal effort I think I've ever seen. And it sucks, and you know, fucking shame on EA for it, and quite frankly, fuck you EA. Like, I think this is disgusting practice and disgusting behaviour. If you want to release FIFA on the Switch, and you can't be asked to do anything with it, like, you might as well just not bother. Like, if you release FIFA 20, which is pretty much the same as FIFA 19, why are you bothering to release it? Because you know people are going to buy it. That's the thing. You know people are going to buy it. On places like Amazon and all the online stores, it doesn't actually say on the box art. They may have changed this. I haven't looked, but they may have changed this. But it didn't say that it was just literally upgrades to kits, squads, and stadiums. On the actual box art, when you get the game, it does say that. If you look at it physically on the front, it is very obvious. But, like, yeah, this is some utter bullshit, and quite frankly, as much as I love the fact that Command & Conquer Remaster exists, and I love the fact that EA were mostly hands off, I cannot trust a published EA game that they make themselves, and I'm pretty sure this is EA Sports, isn't it? So the fact that they've done nothing. Even if you don't release a yearly version of FIFA on Switch and you go, hey, maybe we'll do like 2 years or something, put some money into a version for Switch. Back when it was on the Wii, when the Wii was selling, there was a version of FIFA 09 that had different controls, where you could use the Wii remote and stuff like that, and you had this crazy like 5-a-side, 6-a-side mode with Mii's. And also there was a table football mode. Like, it was legitimately, like, because the Wii version couldn't look as good as the others, they actually put effort into making a version that probably sold pretty well on the Switch. It was like the all-play mode, it was called. And now they can't even be bothered. I know that, like, there's, even the Wii U version of FIFA has some really cool, unique stuff. But the Switch version, apart from the fact that, like, I've got FIFA 18 here, looking at the case, I think the fact, you know, being able to play, you could play in handheld, which is obviously the biggest draw. There's nothing here for Switch players. I think FIFA 19 did something, but 20 and 21, there's nothing there. They're just shitting all over. Like, I'm absolutely like just disgusted by this. Like, I'm sure there are people at EA that don't want to make bad games or bad decisions, and I know it's the higher ups, but this is just unacceptable, and we shouldn't be buying EA products if they think, you know, like, if this is the thing. They're not gonna, they want to see sales on the Switch, and yet they keep judging it on FIFA sales, or they keep doing it on things that are half-hearted attempts by themselves. Need for Speed Remastered is coming to Switch in November, I believe. That is a game, when I bought it back on the Xbox 360, that I absolutely loved. Now, I am curious about the Switch version. I would like to see how well it runs, right, before I may or may not make that purchase. But if it is the same thing again, where they're like, oh, this version has less stuff, this version is a very half-hearted crap version of the new stuff, you know, I'm done with their bullshit. I've kind of been done with their stuff already, but I just don't want to purchase EA products when they cannot be bothered to put the effort in for a slightly lesser version. You know, EA knows that people will buy FIFA on Switch, and they know that they don't have to put much effort in because people will buy it anyway, because most, you know, kids and all that will just want the latest version of FIFA. And that is the sad part of it, that they cannot be fucked to just fucking put some effort into a game on a system that isn't quite as powerful, but probably has a really big player base, and probably plenty of people that would love playing FIFA. I actually really enjoyed playing FIFA 18 with Mark. Like, I really do enjoy it. I find it a lot of fun. You know, I don't have any reason to buy another FIFA game because I'm not that into football as much as I once was, but I like having like a football game per system. I just don't want to buy their products when they just can't. They basically alienate a good chunk of their player base, and they can turn around and be like, oh, most people play it on the other systems. I'm sure they do, but that doesn't give you an excuse. You might have like 2 million player base on the Switch. That's still 2 million players that you're alienating. So yeah, this kind of like practice that they've got going on with FIFA is just unacceptable. On top of the fact that I already hate the fact that this game has ridiculous microtransactions in it. It's just not okay. Like, all of this combined is just not okay, and I'm really hoping that... I saw IGN put out a review and they gave it a 2 out of 10. I'm hoping other places give it a really low score to hopefully stop some people buying it, but also to make EA realise that, like, they just can't... They can't keep doing this. Like, I'm very curious to see next year if FIFA 22 comes out on Switch, if it's just a legacy edition again, and whether they've learned anything from the fact that this is just not acceptable behavior from them. You know what? They don't deserve people buying their games. We've got all the controversy with EA Squadrons where they're like, oh, it's done now, we can't be bothered to give you anything else. It's like they've done so much bad stuff that they're like, you know what, fuck you, we're not going to do this, this, and this. And it's like, well, now they're just throwing their toys out the pram. EA Squadrons, if you don't know, is a game that recently came out. They said they're not adding DLC, because they're like, people don't want that. And I'm like, no, that's not what people want. It would be cool to see more stuff come to that game. But it's clear that EA, their views on things is very skewed. And you know what, like, they are not a company to be trusted. If you are going to buy and purchase any of their products, make sure you are 100% absolutely certain that you're going to enjoy that product. Because right now, to me, it's just shit after shit after shit, and they're making bad decision after bad decision, and it only gets worse. And every time I think, ooh, maybe it's going to get better, like I did with Command & Conquer Remastered, it's straight back to the shit. Madden is apparently the same old crap this year. FIFA seems to have some effort, but not the Switch version, because, you know what, fuck those Switch players, because they don't matter. You know? And more people need to call them out on this. It's just unacceptable. And until they actually start making an effort, right, I don't want to, I want to see changes to these things, not more shit upon shit year after year. This is a bit of a rant video, you can probably tell I am swearing a lot in this, because I am just sick of it. But, that's basically my 2 cents on it. I don't want to keep ragging on, going round and round in circles, but hopefully you can understand that I don't want to see EA putting out bad products on systems just because they think they can get away with it, or they think nobody gives a shit about their product, which isn't the case. But yeah, I'm just very disappointed, very annoyed. So I thought I'd kind of like vent a little bit, get this out. But thank you very much for watching, as always. If you like this content, hit like if you want to see more content like this. then hit subscribe. Links for Facebook and Twitter will be down below in the description as always. And until next video, I will see you then.